I don't think that Hawaiians will ever stop generation after generation asserting their claim to nationhood and to self-determination because it's inherent in who we are. We don't come from anywhere else. We come from here. And as long as the people are on their homeland, even if in shanty towns, that connection is still there. And that is something tourists don't have, that Americans don't have, that Asian immigrants don't have. We are the only people of the land. And as long as that's true, and of course the language revival will help remind our next generations of that, then there's always the hope that there'll be a constant reassertion of self-determination and self-government.
The Hawaiian people have been in about 80 years, 90 years of significant decline after the time of Western contact. Prior to the coming of Cook in 1778, Hawaii was a stone and fiber culture. It had mastered its presence on these islands. It had learned to live for centuries with the resources of an island world. And as Western contact, the impact of that began to penetrate the culture. With it came a variety of things that dislocated people from places and that devastated the population from a disease perspective. There were major epidemics. The numbers of Hawaiians were falling off dramatically, and the people themselves were in disarray.
We have not been acknowledged by the federal government as the indigenous people of this place. Hawaiians are not recognized by the federal government as the indigenous people of this place. In 1959, when they became a state, they transferred the Hawaiian people as wards of the state to the state. We are still considered wards of the state. We are not considered the indigenous people of the state. So when the United States government or the state of Hawaii government makes small condolences, like saying that Hawaiian language is the official state language, then they need to change their stationery and learn how to spell the word Hawaii, because to date they still did not spell it with the proper glottal mark, the okina. It is just words for the government to say that it's the official language, but until they put it into practice, and why isn't it in every school then if it's the official language?
The general population of Hawaii has been very supportive of Hawaiian language. We were able to have the Hawaiian language declared an official language of our state in 1978 through popular vote, while Native Hawaiians are only 20% of the population.
I started in kindergarten. My parents put me into the Hawaiian language school because they thought that our ancestors were the language taken from them. So she wanted us to revive the language, to perpetuate the language, and that's why I'm speaking Hawaiian.
After the overthrow of our government, one of the laws changed at that time was the use of Hawaiian as the medium of education in schools. Because prior to that, the language of all of the schools was Hawaiian, every single school. So we had hundreds and hundreds of schools, and the language was flourishing.
After the arrival of Captain Cook and the American missionaries, the Hawaiian people become dispossessed of their religion, their moral order, many of their cultural practices, and a large part of their lands. Diseases introduced by the white man decimate a native population, estimated at 1 million at the time of first contact in 1778, to less than 40,000 100 years later. Missionaries bring the Bible in a written language, and a nation historically ruled by a chieftain system becomes a kingdom in 1795 when Kamehameha I reunites the islands. The country is independent and internationally recognized.
Hawaii's history is rather unique in the world. It was one of the few places that was a nation state on the European model during the time of colonialism. So our King Kamehameha at a very early period, decided that traders were coming to get sandalwood from Hawaii, and he wanted to trade in China himself. So he bought a ship with sandalwood and created his own flag. And because the British were so strong at that time, he put the corner of their flag and then put 8 stripes for our islands. And he went to China, and the Chinese recognized it as an independent country, and he traded directly instead of going through European middlemen. And Hawaii was the first non-European nation to be part of the Community of Nations. We were part of the postal treaties of Europe, and so we have our own stamps, our own coins from that period.
If Hawaii is a sovereign nation, Asians and Americans arrive en masse, and the Americans eventually control 3/4 of the arable lands. In 1893, Americans in the archipelago foment a coup d'etat. The Queen is deposed, and English becomes the only official language. In 1898, Hawaii is annexed by the United States. In 1959, it becomes the 50th state of the Union. 20 years later, after a long struggle, Hawaiian again becomes an official language of the state, on par, in theory at least, with English.
Nani kea awina le hua o ka ana ki pala he aula I ke kaiopuna. I puna ua ka I ka vaine ia ka I ka ua ki ave le hua o hopoi.
My name is Pikake, P-I-K-A-K-E.
Ni ka ele I ka uko puna I ka la au ka o u o olama.
I go to school Navihi o Kulanio Pu'u.
Eia puna la I ka lai o kumukai he lai o ka I ka ulu o ka la a.
I was chanting Nihi and Eia puna la and Hanikea-o. Hanikea-o is like you're giving something to the persons. They're giving gifts and stuff. Nihi is like if you can come inside their souls and stuff. And then Eia Punara, that means that they're saying yeah. They're saying yes, that you can come inside.
Why did you chant in this particular place?
Because it's a sacred land to the Hawaiians. I felt something here because over here there's plenty of rocks and stuff. It's piled up. And used to be, this is a grave site, so I choose this spot because the people that's underneath this island is all Hawaiians, so they can hear my voice and they can tell me what they're doing and stuff. I feel everything special when I chant. I feel like my tutus are coming over here. They're telling me to not be afraid and stuff.
What are your tutus?
My tutus are the ka'ais and all these people that's underneath us.
Your ancestors?
Yeah.
Did your parents talk to you in Hawaiian?
Little bit. My mom learning a little bit, and my dad, he doesn't like to learn. He's only learning a little bit too.
And how come your parents sent you to Hawaiian school, immersion school?
Because that's our culture.
We are here on ancestral lands where one can find vestiges of Hawaii from before the arrival of the whites. Hawaiians come here to participate in community work and to resource themselves.
Ai kahiki nā kala puka I hae hae. Ai I laila ka vai a kāne. E ui aku ana au ia oi. Ai ia ka vai a kāne.
Yeah, thank you. I just give me the okay, Jeff. Here, brother. Aloha. One of the first chants we teach is how to ask. We've forgotten how to ask. When we came here this morning, chanted, we asked permission to come into this place because it's not our place. It belongs to the Aina here. It belongs to the land here. It belongs to the elements that feed it here. It belongs to the animals and the plants that grow here. So we need to ask before we go. This tree that we're standing under is what we call the puhala. And the puhala is very useful for Hawaiian. We use everything from these roots all the way up to the leaves. We use it for making mats. We use it for cushions. We use it for making sails for our canoe. The name of the tree is called hala. Hala for Hawaiian means to pass. So in our thinking, in Hawaiian thinking, our ancestors do not die. They pass from this level to another level. And so they would hala. They've moved on to another level. They've passed on. And the important part about the hala, if you see this here, the dried leaves, when the tree is past is when it becomes useful, when it's already past. And that's the same sense that how we look to our ancestors that have passed, our kupuna, are still useful to us, the living. Yeah? Because they're still on the other side protecting us, guiding us, and we're still learning from them. Those kind of things. So the hala tree is very, very important for us. But there are 3 levels. There is the first level, which is our source. Whether you call that God, Keakua, whomever, it is where the elements live. It's those things that exist. With or without us, with or without the earth, you still have the rain, you still have the thunder, the lightning, the clouds, the sun, the moon, all the stars, those things that are above us and beyond us. Those things provide for this aina, for this land. They provide for the plants to grow. They give the sunlight, they give the rain, they give the nourishment, they bring the winds to move the plants that can't move by themselves. Level 2 are those things that exist here because of level 1. And level 3 is us. And our job, our kuleana, our responsibility is to take care of level 2. That is our only responsibility, is to take care of level 2. It's that aina that we must take care of. Because that will feed not just this generation, but my children's children's children. For Hawaiians, we recognize that everything we are came from 7 generations behind us. But everything we do is for 7 generations in front of us. Hawaiians never believed that they owned land. We never believed that this part of land, this plot of land is mine personally. As I said, we're the caretaker of this place. So this is my kuleana, this is my responsibility to take care of this place. This is the land that gave me birth. This is the land that feeds me every day. And so my responsibility is to this land to take care of it. That was our connection to it. When we started to have people move in and tell us that they own the land now because they had a piece of paper, and Hawaiians were pushed into urban areas to have to get regular jobs to make money to buy their food. They had no place to grow their food. That's when we started to really lose not only the cultural practices and the language, but we started to lose our connection to the aina. We were taken away from the aina and no longer had a sense of place. You understand how important that is, a sense of place.
The biggest land problem is the same problem that all Native people have who's been colonized, which is private property. As long as the lands were controlled by the government and by the chiefs, then the land was inherent to the nation, to the people. You were born with land. Now, of course, that's not the case. So private property is openly traded and openly available on the market. But given Hawaii's status as a tourist colony, the land is very, very expensive, which means that more and more people are ghettoized in the city of Honolulu and elsewhere. We have a huge beach population, for example. Hawaii has wonderful weather, so poor people begin to take up shanty towns on the beach. Then periodically they're arrested and removed because, of course, beach villages are bad for tourism.
In the Hawaii of pre-colonial times, land cannot be traded monetarily. It is distributed by the chiefs according to the needs of their people. With the missionaries and the white settlers, this will change. Land deeds come into force and native Hawaiians are dispossessed of their land. The royal family, however, is able to recuperate important domains, and its last members, the descendants of Hawaii's first king, Kamehameha I, bequeath their lands to charities and trusts favorable to the native population. Kamehameha Schools is a trust that finances schools of the same name in the state of Hawaii.
Kamehameha Schools is Hawaii's largest landowner, and we manage the legacy of a Hawaiian princess named Bernice Pauahi Bishop. Bernice, when she passed away in 1873 or 4, was really one of the last in the line of chieftesses from the Kamehameha line of chiefs. And when she passed away, she willed her land asset to the education of Hawaiian children, with the recommendation to provide for a school for boys and girls. The institution of Kamehameha Schools is about 140 years old. We've evolved over time to maintain a large land base, but to be a very significant financial institution. So we're about a $5 billion corporation. We spend about $250 million a year in educational endeavors. That runs 3 major school complexes, 50 preschool classrooms, a scholarship program for post-high scholarships, and a whole range of new outreach programs that are starting to roll out around the state.
As part of Hawaiian tradition, at the beginning of each week, the students ask for permission to come to school, and the teachers confirm that they are welcome.
Put your hands to your side. I know that the sun is in your face, but if you have it in your pockets, that's not okay.
All right.
At our school this morning to visit and to spend some very precious time with all of us. Throughout the morning when you see them, please be respectful, because kupuna in our culture are very important to us in the Ohana'ai.
Our children are so fortunate, and they're so fortunate that you are willing to be here today and spend the morning and lunch with them. We have much to learn. We have so much to learn. We welcome you. We wish you could stay with us day after day, week after week, and we certainly hope you come back. Thank you so much.
The kupuna, or elders, are important to traditional Hawaiian society and to the continuity of the Hawaiian culture and language that was on the way out only 30 years ago.
So first of all, let's go to the eyeball. File, import file. And you're going to find your folder, and you're going to see slide 2, and you're going to import. The working timeline gives you where you're going to put your video, your audio, your picture files, and these are 2 audio tracks.
When you come into the class, please put down the chairs quietly. Mopopo. And then we will get ready for some final review lessons that I have planned.
Although the school has a Christian religious affiliation, the rite before entering the classroom is more than spiritual. It is directly related to a culture which encourages self-respect, respect of others, and of place.
Okina e la u a okina. Okaualani polua. Okaualani polua. O anu o ke ko'olau. Hapai ko lima. Ilikai.
We have to finish up these. Ikai kabilinu, we have a very good genealogy. Dakota.
My name is Charles Makana Hiva Okalani Lee, and I'm 8 years old. I live in Hawaii, and this is my genealogy. This is me when I was only 4 years old, and this is my mom. We're somewhere in Hilo. This is my mom's dad. He's my grandpa, and this is my grandpa's dad. My great-grandpa. This is my great-grandpa's wife. I'm a quarter Hawaiian.
And are you proud to be Hawaiian?
Mm-hmm.
Is that important to be Hawaiian?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
It's very important because some people aren't Hawaiian and they want to come to this school.
So only Hawaiian people?
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to document your Hawaiian ancestry as a student at this school. From our viewpoint, and I'm speaking myself as a graduate of Kamehameha schools, was that the trust of Kelly Bernice Pohi Bishop through education was first and foremost an opportunity to elevate her Hawaiian people. And by founding the Kamehameha schools back in 1887, she was able to afford the Native Hawaiian child an education in an ever-changing world and in that society. So this vision that she had, I believe, is very important for children of Hawaiian ancestry who live in the state of Hawaii.
I am a Hawaiian forever.
The legacy of Princess Bernice requires at least 15% Hawaiian blood to be a student at Kamehameha. Some people take issue with this obligation, but initially its purpose was to raise the academic standards of Native Hawaiian children, second-class citizens in their own country. Today it has become an important element in the reconquest of the Hawaiian identity.
What is the name of this beat? Pie. Not pie, like apple pie. Pie. Eia iho ke aloha. No way, Kelly Ipawai. You're too slow, you're dragging it. Alright. Eia iho ke aloha.
Using the traditional ipu hekeole, the pupils prepared to celebrate and to honor the birth of the founder of the school.
Do you all know the name of the founder of Kamehameha schools? Let's say it one more time. Kelly Bernice Pauahi Paki Bishop. She was the great-granddaughter of Kamehameha I. He was the one who united all the islands, remember? He was especially chosen from birth to be the leader of the Hawaiian nation.
But she didn't take it, right?
Kamehameha I. But his great-granddaughter was a leader in other ways in the community for our Hawaiian. And this is the legacy of education that she leaves to us. Maupopo, put your ipu down.
The origin of the old hula is usually with chants. With chants, not songs. And it's usually, the old ancient hula had to do with some kind of a ritual. The modern hula has more of a celebration, if there's any kind of celebration.
How long have you been dancing the hula yourself?
When I was about this tall.
When you dance, bend your knees, not all the way down, just a little bit. And you will find another step that you're gonna, well, it's not a step, it's a movement, is to ummi. That's in the dance. So if you bend your knees a little bit, put your hands on your hips, then you can ummi much better and softer. You want to try that? You want to try that?
Hawaiian values means to, first of all, understand what the values mean, how they were practiced by our kupuna. The very foremost one is aloha. And aloha does not only mean hello, goodbye, and to have compassion, but it encompasses breadth of the feelings and the very nature of being a Hawaiian person. When you greet someone, you are also carrying with you your family, your teachers, your parents, and all of your kupuna, and extending this long heritage to the next person, whoever you're greeting. So aloha is a very important word in our culture. Imina'awau is foremost for our children at our school. This is what we do in our everyday work ethic. Always try to remember what was taught to us by our kupuna, but also try to seek new knowledge, new enlightenment. We also strive to appreciate one another's heritage and understand our multicultural backgrounds here on the campus as well as in our community. Malama is very important to the family. It means to care for, to protect. Ikipono is to have a understanding and a knowledge of being a righteous person as our founder was. Pono is doing the right thing. Kuleana is taught daily. It's a responsibility, both as adults as well as children. Ho'omao and ha'aha'a. There are less than 500,000 Native Hawaiians. So to ho'omao, or to perpetuate something as precious as the gifts of whatever little remnants of Hawaiian culture are left and that are surviving in our contemporary society are very precious. There are certain cultural teachings and certain cultural mannerisms we are trying to perpetuate in a small way. Teach them how it is to be in a Hawaiian home. And that's how I try to make my classroom. Take off the shoes before you enter the house. We stand quietly. We don't just come into the classroom loudly. That's considered rude. We only before the class. And this helps to set a tone for expected behavior and expected outcomes in the classroom.
The voices behind the faith of the Hawaiian nation, the Hawaiian race. Rise for justice, the day has come for all our people to stand as one. Ela we the voices behind the face, the Hawaiian nation, Hawaiian race, rise for justice, the day has come for all our people to stand as one.
When Hawaii was independent under the chiefly system, the traditional forms continued. But once the missionaries came and tried to get Hawaiians to learn English through what I thought was very clever as well, they brought the Bible and translated it into Hawaiian. And it was actually the missionaries that reduced the Hawaiian language to writing. We had no written language before they came. And Hawaiians took to writing the way they took to surfing. Hawaiians to this day believe that writing is a form of mana, of power. And of course, I support that. I think so too.
Celebration on the palace ground. People need to know what's going down. There's a proclamation from the powers that lead. Our island nation has got to be free.
In the 19th century, there were something like 53 Hawaiian language newspapers, even if there were little sheets of information, the news. And then, of course, when the language was banned, all of that production stopped and the school system went into English. And the Hawaiian population continued to decline.
Why did the population decline?
Introduced diseases. Syphilis, the common cold, measles. The measles epidemic was unbelievable. I mean, in one 4-year period, the missionaries recorded that huge settlements, for example, where my mother's family comes from on the east end of Maui Island, were desolate. The fields were empty. The fish ponds were unattended to because the populations died in these areas. You'll say you have a family of 15 or 16 and maybe 14 would die. Hawaiians had no immunities to these diseases, which were all contagious. It's very like American Indians. First contact populations are notoriously vulnerable to all of these germs in their organisms.
Kamehameha Schools is over 100 years old, and at first instruction was only in English. The cultural and linguistic movement began elsewhere. Around 30 years ago, a group of teachers created an association, Aha Punanaleo, the Nest, to revive the language. The Nawahio Kaneopu School was born, and others followed. In these immersion schools, the Hawaiian language is taught as a first language from kindergarten on. Often the parents of students speak only English. So successful has been the acculturation of the native Hawaiian people. Like the Kamehameha schools, the immersion schools are apolitical. They are in no way connected to the sovereignist movement of which Professor Trask is one of the historic and symbolic leaders, or to any of the other autonomist or independence movements of the islands. Many visitors come to see how this laboratory school functions. There's an exchange of oli, or traditional chants, whose role is to show the respect for place, self, and others. This type of activity takes place before school starts, at the end of the day, and to greet visitors.
Aloha, kakahiaka, means good morning to you.
Nui ke ia hui ana I ke ia la, no na keiki o ke kula o Kamehameha, kula kamali'i o Kamehameha, me ko nā wahi iki.
And in there was a pool. Where's the pig?
Wait now, wait.
Honda's going to make a special lei for somebody's house this weekend. But I just don't want to pick anything to put inside. I have special things in here that are going to do special things for the house. So Honda's going to use do you know what this is?
Tea leaf.
Tea leaf. The Hawaiian word is la'i. And Kumu's going to use this in the lei because tea leaf keeps out the bad things. When you have a fever, you can put the tea leaf, the la'i, on your head like this, and it takes the hot out of your head because the tea leaf takes bad things away. So Kumu's going to...
It takes a headache away.
It does. So tea leaf keeps the bad things away. So I'm going to put this in my lei. It's la'i. Can you say la'i?
La'i.
Good job.
Okay, we'll take them out.
This is the laboratory school, and what we do is we try different ways of learning through our language and through our culture. Our language had gone to sleep for so very long that the decision to bring our language back into the school context was really the only way at that time to bring it back. We had to institutionalize the use of Hawaiian language. Kind of school like Navahi, Okalani Opu'u, really is the result of many, many years of perseverance and vision and hard work on the part of many to believe that we can actually bring our language back to life. Before the 1980s, we had Hawaiian language in the university. It was taught much like most foreign languages are taught. Second language, you take a course, get your credit, and that's the end of that. So in 1983, we established the Punanaleo organization, the Hawaiian Language Corporation. We, as a mission, had the saying, "Eola ka'olelo Hawai'i," let the Hawaiian language live.
My name is Dr. William H. Wilson, and I was born here in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. However, my parents came to Hawaii from Kansas during World War II. I made it my hobby to learn the Hawaiian language. And I ended up marrying a Hawaiian woman who's a principal here at this school. And we decided to raise our children speaking the Hawaiian language. We were the first family to do that outside of this one really isolated community. We began about 20 years ago to start this type of education, and through this we've increased the number of people to, I would say, just students going to these schools, we have about 2,000 in all, from preschool through high school.
Do research in terms of getting kids to eat healthy foods. I've been doing this for 30 years. I did a PhD at Cornell University that demonstrates that if you put food in the curriculum, you make it enjoyable for kids, teach them about cultures of the world that have eaten healthy foods traditionally for many, many centuries. Make it fun, hands-on, sensory-based. The kids will then eat those foods and incorporate them in their diets.
I have a problem in America with poor nutrition and just a slew of diet-related diseases. I'm a great fan of the work of Dr. Antonia Demas, and when I found out about what she's doing, I was very excited because she's showing that if we can create a partnership between lessons in the classroom and what the kids eat in the cafeteria, then we can really contribute to a better diet overall.
So ina hoha like kako mahalo. Mahalo. Kikike hapai kia no. Hea ka okoa o kia mame elua. Wano like ba hea hana okoa. Kia kaloke pawana kona vitamina C. Akaina ai maka vau. Nui ka vitamina C. E ai maka malalon. Ina kuke o e pau koke ka vitamina C. Pone ai maka.
Nani, Nana came up by Nani. Hi. Okay. We can move this down now.
Okay, Chapako Island. Okay, Akala.
There are kind of two minds about the schools. On one hand, people are very proud to see that the Hawaiian language is being revitalized. Many people are worried that the children may not be getting a good education, which is kind of ironic because the students that we've had graduating from these schools have done better than the general native Hawaiian population in terms of education, going on to college, some prestigious colleges of the United States, as well as our own local universities.
The first master's degree in the Hawaiian language was obtained by a young teacher and ex-pupil of the school.
Knowing more than one language is beneficial. It stretches your brain to farther limits than just having to memorize one language. And to be able, honestly, to jump back and forth between both languages and communicate effectively, it's a plus for them. So they can see the world differently instead of someone that just knows one language. Knowing your language is truly knowing where you come from. The language is the vast resource of history. A good example is if you say the word rock in Hawaiian, the word pohaku to a native Hawaiian and to a speaker of the language hits home farther than if you just say the word rock, because rocks you can find all over the world, but pohaku were used to build the temples and to bury our ali'i and to make the foundation for our homes. So pohaku carries a deeper meaning for us than rock.
Having a problem?
Regarding bilingualism, many people thought that when we taught Hawaiian language, the students would not know English. But instead, they've actually done better on their English examinations than the general population of students here in Hawaii. By providing the Hawaiian language, we give them an opportunity to express their identity through their traditional language and still learn English as a very fluent second language. Although English is their first language, it's kind of strange. They're used to speaking that at home or from the television. They end up making better grades than the other students who have had English since kindergarten.
People think that you should go to an English school to help your career or your future, but I think that you don't have to. You can also speak the language, because I have an older brother who attended the same school who also speaks the language, and he's now in college at the Milan. So he is doing good. So you don't have to, like, Hawaiian won't ruin your future. You can always you can always speak the language and still succeed in life. Umna o na makikula na vapau na hoa makikula. Aleva olela Hawai'i mavaho kikula oyai olela pelekania na kanaka.
O kikai mea ui o kikai o na mea ui a oi ianei oia no. Some of the things that I've learned in this school that I apply to my life is how to stand, how to present myself, how to sit and how to interact with people. Also, they taught us planting and stuff. So when I go out to plant something, I don't just plant it because I want to plant it. You look to see when is the right time for it to be planted so that it'll grow and blossom.
The shells and grenades.
In the Navehi school, all subjects are taught in Hawaiian, even English.
A fighter and a bomber collided. Subjects. Okoapau.
General Grand General Lee.
Verb. Leo nui ka pono e hiki mai I kou mau pepeo.
The general and the officers surrendered.
Mahalo. Subjects.
General and officer.
Verb.
Pohai Kealoha is not of Hawaiian origin, but she teaches in Hawaiian and is a popular radio announcer in the Hawaiian language.
Kiano ni now? Mga maki oe haika mea hanika.
He elua
We're in the United States here. A little while ago, we saw you teaching an English class, and you were teaching it in Hawaiian. Can you tell us something about that?
Well, in the Hawaiian immersion program from the very beginning, we introduced English as a subject in the 5th grade. So 50 minutes a day, 1 hour a day. There are two philosophies of teaching English. One is that you teach it like if you were to go to college and take a French or Hawaiian class, where the students would come in and immediately they would speak only French. Immediately they would speak only Hawaiian. That would be the language of communication in the classroom. English was a little different because they came from the home speaking English. It was more fine-tuning it, structuring it, modeling good English. I wanted to be on the cutting edge of education and not do what anyone else did. Why hire me to do that if I'm bilingual? You could just hire someone who spoke English. So I determined that there were certain things in teaching English that I would not translate. And they would have to do all their written work in English and all their speeches in English, but the communication that went on between us, the communication of the classroom, would be Hawaiian. And I've always taught that way.
If they're studying social studies or science in Hawaiian, how do they cope with different exams or entrance exams to universities?
Well, the great thing is all of our seniors last year, I think there were 12 graduating seniors, all but 2 are in college, and several have gone to mainland colleges and had no problem with the entrance exams. It's clear to them, the concepts, what we're trying to get across. Teaching it in Hawaiian is clear enough, and they're able to then internally translate it to and recall it when they need to.
In English?
In English.
My name is Hololapa Ka'ena Ena o Kona, or Holo for short.
Can you tell us about the importance of having your language and your culture?
Okay, kai mea. To me, it's knowing who I am, knowing who my ancestors are. I am 1/4 Hawaiian, and it's very precious to me. My language is very precious because once it's gone, you know. And here in Hawaii, looking at it in the big picture, not too many people speak Hawaiian, and so it's important too that the language is taught to everyone, even those who aren't Hawaiian, to treasure the language, to keep it intact so that future generations can appreciate it.
Now we're the second largest ethnic group in Hawaii, but all of us now, as myself, are of mixed ancestry. There are only about 7,000 pure Native Hawaiians left.
What does it mean to be Hawaiian when the native population is a minority? The Kamehameha schools have found, if not a solution, at least a formula. To be admitted, you have to have at least one great-grandparent who was Hawaiian. It is a question of sharing an inheritance of royal lands left in legacy by a princess to her people whose education was stunted by the American domination of the islands. For the immersion schools, it is a question of protecting a language and a culture, and the amount of Hawaiian blood loses its importance. If Holo is only 25% Hawaiian, some of his classmates and professors have no Hawaiian ancestry at all.
Older Hawaiians said that when the Hawaiian language goes, that the Hawaiian people would lose their identity, the life force of what it means to be a Hawaiian. So that was one of the reasons that this type of schooling was established, to maintain that living life force and not let the people go extinct.
The language was banned in 1896, and it was unbanned through an act of the governor of the state of Hawaii in 1976. So maybe 3 to 4 generations had gone without speaking the Hawaiian language. And the next generation, for example, my nephews and nieces all speak Hawaiian because of the language schools. So that's a great victory for us, because within the language exists the culture, and the words that we had from a 2,000-year-old practice of taking care of the land don't exist in English. And the great joy for us is to see that.
We are not American. We will die as Hawaiians. We will never be Americans.
The Americans overthrew our queen in 1893, and we were forcibly annexed in 1898. So that's the first great stage of American overseas imperialism. 6 months after, or 8 months after they take Hawaii, the United States takes Wake, Guam, Samoa, and the Philippines. The United States, I like to tell my students, it goes from being a hemispheric power to a global power within one short 5-year period. And in that period, Hawaii is the first domino. Pearl Harbor was taken by the United States in 1887. The primary purpose that Hawaii served in the 19th century remains the primary purpose today. Hawaii is a military base of enormous proportions. We have 23 bases. We have thousands of troops. Every single war the United States has waged in the 20th century, Hawaii played a central role because the United States went from a hemispheric power to a global power, which meant the oceans. As long as that's the function of Hawaii for the government of the United States, then there's no possible way Hawaii will ever be free of these chains of militarism. And so to me, the most we can hope for is what the Navajo Nation has. And that's my hope. I don't think we're going to get it, especially now that the United States is back in the saddle of war.
Just for a day, our king and queen would visit all these islands and saw everything. How would they feel about the changes of our land?
I choose the Navajos because they're very big and they're very well known. They're in the state of Arizona. They have a tribal council. They have tribal police. They actually have Navajo time. And it separates them in 1 hour from the rest of Arizona. So in many respects, I like the Navajo model because they are the biggest nation. They do have a tribal council. They do have control over their internal affairs, and they interface with the federal government as a nation to nation. They have their own language schools. They have their own language schools. They have their own language schools. They have their own language schools.
Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really